Good morning.
Good morning.
Do we have any announcements this morning? Glenn, anything?
Sure. We need to have a short, while we have everyone here, we need to have a discussion about the Labor Day donut sale and kind of get a plan on what exactly we want to do, what we need, how we're going to, who's going to get donuts, who's going to do what, just to kind of, we've done this a number of years. It seems everything falls into place relatively. It shouldn't be a big issue. And I think we need to at least have a general discussion about where we're all comfortable with the path forward leading with the church and how we want to, there has been some controversy, and maybe a general discussion might be, just so everyone is aware of how everyone else feels.
So we have that next week?
We can have
I won't be here next week.
Yeah.
I'll be here the 31st.
Well, I think we need to discuss where we have been and where we think we currently are. I'd like to have you here, obviously.
Let's do it the 31st. We'll announce it again next Sunday.
Okay, then we'll do it then. So.
Good. We are supposed to have a guest this morning. She hasn't arrived. Our district executive secretary, Reverend Joan Van Bethor. She may think we start at 10:30, I don't know. Or she comes all the way from Columbus. I haven't talked to her for several weeks since she's told me she will be here. So if we see someone, we know who she is. Unless it's Kelly, who was here last week. Anyone else have an announcement? All right. May we stand then for our opening words. We'll remain standing through the writing of our shadows. May we read together. From the fragmented world of our everyday lives, we gather together in search of wholeness, by many cares and preoccupations, by diverse and selfish aims. We are separated from one another and divided within ourselves. Yet we know that no branch is utterly severed from the tree of life that sustains us all. Our hymn number 212.
In the supremacy of intelligence, in the leadership of competence, in the validity of freedom, in the goal of the common good. So may it be for now and for always.
And as we light our chalice, we come to celebrate together our welcome into the lives
Of those we meet, and their welcome into our own. Rekindle our chalice, a bowl of light, reflecting that eternal light which shines always around and before us.
May we be seated. May we join together in lighting individual candles, telling of our joys, concerns at this present moment.
Brand new wicks. This is great for our community at large. For those that protect and serve here and overseas, and for those who can't be with us today. And I'm going to light one for Brian, because Brian seems to be having a little back pain. I can understand. I've been racked all this week with it. So, anything that helps.
I wanted to light a candle today for our planet Earth and the 7 billion of us on it. And I had kind of a disconcerting week. I talked to the person who runs the cemetery where my parents are buried and said that I wanted to buy a funeral plot because I'm kind of getting of an age where I need to get all that together. And the clerk, who's 75 years old, was telling me something that was a little disconcerting. She says, well, I'm hoping I can go into my grave before this whole country collapses. She says it's holding on a string and something's got to give. And I kind of filed that away. And then I was at the library, and I happened to be standing next to a 21-year-old young man, and we happened to talk about the garden, and I said, my garden's the worst it's ever been because it got drowned early on, and then it was cold, and then it was dry. And he said something that really sort of took me aback. He said, well, you know we're going Stone Age. And I said, oh, what do you mean by that? And he said, he got a little irritated with me. He said, can't you adults see it? The earth is being destroyed. Most of us will die prematurely, and there'll only be a few bands living who will probably live a Stone Age life. And I thought, oh, wow, for a 21-year-old. So I asked him, I says, well, how long have you thought like this? He said, since I was 16. I said, so that's 5 years. I said, are you afraid of dying prematurely and of not having a future? He said, no, I've gotten used to it. But he says, I really blame you adults for messing up the world. So it's like, so I said, well, I'm sorry. I'm sorry we adults have given you young people a world that's not doing well. And I said, but I want you to know I've done my part. I've had this motto, live simply, so that others may simply live, since I was 18. And I said, you know, I drive tiny cars, especially because I dated a guy from the National Transportation Safety Board who told me they're as safe as the bigger cars. They just distort the safety figures in order to make more money and sell bigger cars. And I said, I've always lived AC free. I ended up being child free, although that wasn't planned, and I've been nearly vegetarian for 22 years. So yes, I have my part, but I want you to know I've done what I could do. And he said, well, okay, but the rest of you adults haven't. So this sort of kind of put me in a tizzy all week. It's like, how do you live with no future? And I don't know, I'm still searching for the answer. Maybe there isn't one, but I just decided that the only thing I could come up with is that I have to turn it over to a spiritual power greater than myself, because it's a problem that individually none of us can solve, and do the next right thing one day at a time. But anyway, I'm lighting a candle for our poor planet Earth and all 7 billion of us and all the plants and animals on it with us.
This is a candle for Mr. Don, who was sick today. so he's not here today.
It's so nice to see people that can just confidently take that thing and light it.
That one's easy.
I pick it up and I light one for our church and the time in quotation mark that we're having. And I pray that we can all withstand and pull together and make it still our wonderful church. Second candle that I light is for my daughter, Amy, the youngest, who lives in Columbus. Her only son goes off to Miami University this Thursday. I remember going to college away from home, and Brian said he remembered too, and he said all three of he and his mother and dad were crying at the time. I told him I was sure my mother cried, but she didn't let me see her cry. But she's been trying to come through to me the last 2 days, yesterday and through the night, and even some on Friday. So I got to thinking this morning, that's probably why she's trying to get through to Amy, to comfort Amy a little bit, because there seem to be so many similarities between me and Kevin as far as even looks goes. He looks very much like I did when I was his age, and his mother, my daughter, and so we'll remember Amy and Kevin too. This will be a little different prayer as well. Barbara, while you were speaking, I thought of something I saw on Facebook this week. And it certainly amounted to a sermon. It was an English person with the British accent speaking the words to the song, "It's a Wonderful World." If you remember the words to that song, it's